Hello and welcome back to Weekly Fix. I'm your host Zane, and I'm joined here with.
Jacob.
We have had such a wonderful start to this podcast with plenty of content, and this week is we have no less content with so much Invincible to talk about. We had so much Marvel to talk about last week that we completely skipped over the Invincible episode that came out to save it for this week. So we are going to be covering episode 2 from season 2 and episode 3. Jacob, what did you think about the episodes?
Man, this show, it just continues. It elevates itself every time I watch it. Like, I watched the entirety of season 1 in basically a 24-hour stretch, and I don't binge watch shows. We've talked about that on this podcast before. I'm not a fan of binge watching, but this show really grabbed my attention. I love everything about it, and season 2 has just been crazy. I feel like every episode, I'm like, all right, we're probably going to get something that don't really matter here. And sure, some of the scenes you can go with, and you can say, that was just like a character building scene, but all the scenes feel so important. Every little detail, every little emotion just really grabs you. And these last two episodes, especially this last one, the emotions were flowing. And this show just continues to get better, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Okay, so go ahead and for what we want to do this episode, I'm gonna try to switch it up just a little bit for some. So if you're listening and you kind of want to know what we're talking about, but you haven't watched the show, why don't you give us like a brief synopsis of like a real brief synopsis of episode 2 and 3, and then we'll kind of dive deep into some of the points.
Well, episode 2 for me, it seemed a lot of like the Guardians of the Globe, the original group that we saw in season 1, are gone. But it kind of seems season 2, they start back with the Immortal. Obviously, he's immortal. He comes back. And I'm like, all right, this is good. You know, someone that could challenge. I mean, he doesn't do a good job of challenging, but he at least puts up a little bit of a fight against an Omni-Man type character. So you don't feel like they're rushing Invincible into being that role yet, because you can see Cecil, he's wanting to build Invincible into that Omni-Man-esque hero. He wants him to be really the sole hero of Earth, and not in a sense that he wants the other heroes to disappear, but when something does happen, he has Invincible in his back pocket. But he's not ready for that. So we're seeing like the Guardians of the Globe, this new group, still be challenged with a lot of, villains that might not necessarily be really important villains. Someone that if Cecil were to call on an Omni-Man type hero, it'd be taken care of instantly. So season 2, we are kind of starting to see that. And then episode 2, it kind of gives us that, oh wait, there's still versions of the Guardian of the Globe. There's other people that were like what they were doing out there. So you see, we had the Martian Man in season 1. We don't get to see a whole lot of them, obviously, because they all get killed in episode 1. But we kind of saw in season 1 when Mark goes to Mars, he kind of encounters those same type of heroes, those same type of people, and one of them has made their way back to Earth. So we're kind of seeing like, oh, maybe there's going to be another Guardians of the Globe almost that they didn't even know about. And we see it again with the one hero. He's slipping my name of what his name was. But when
Shapeshifter.
he goes, huh?
They're calling him Shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter. Yeah, so that's kind of like what seems to be the new Martian Man, right?
Right.
So we have him, and then we also have um is it Darkwing? I think that's the character's name. Um I believe that's his name. It's
Yeah,
slipping my
yeah.
mind right now.
Darkwing is the Batman-esque
Yes, and
character.
then so we see Mark go into that part of Earth that's
Yeah,
kind of like
Midnight
cursed.
City.
Yes, it's like a cursed city, and guess what? He had a sidekick there, which we don't use the term sidekick because that's
Demeaning.
it's demeaning. But he had a sidekick there that it doesn't seem like a whole lot of people knew about. Obviously, Cecil knows about him because Cecil seems to know everything. But
Well, not everything.
yeah, not everything, but he knows a lot of what's going on. It seems like most of the time, and it kind of seems like, is there another of these Guardians of the Globe that we got from season 1 still alive, really? We see again with that episode where Mark's told he has to go marry the Atlanteus queen, and it finds out that was old tradition. And there's more of those heroes there as well because Omni-Man killed their king. So there's just, it seems like a whole lot more to this world that we hadn't seen that we're finally getting to see.
So you said something there that Cecil seems to know everything. And I actually wanted to touch on that because one of my main takeaways from episode 2 is that I think Cecil is completely and totally off his rocker. I think he's lost complete and total control. He doesn't know what's going on, and he is completely at a disadvantage for what is going to come. I don't think he's prepared at all. And I think the big like show of that was that he didn't know Atlantean culture had changed, and that's like a
That
big point.
that is a good point, and that's I still just feel like it seems like the Darkwing sidekick. It kind of seemed like he knew who that was, right? So I
I
feel like
mean,
he
kind
knew
of.
about. I don't think he knows that Shapesmith is a Martian. I don't think he knows
No,
that.
he does not know that. And
But I do
dude,
feel like he's catching on to it a little bit, and he will catch on to it.
so at uh Midnight City with the Darkwing sidekick. Man, I wish I knew his name so I could actually just say it. Um why would they introduce that like negative zone with him? Cuz that's like a crazy power. Like that's a crazy like power set. Like crazy power set.
It is, and they didn't touch on it at all, really.
No,
He kind of just. It was really a strange thing, and he even didn't even want to be in that alternate world that he was kind of pulling Mark into, right?
right.
So I don't know. And even here, you hear Mark say, "Hey, well, you can explain whatever that was to Cecil. You can hear it from him." Mark tells Cecil, "Hey, you can hear it from him when he wakes up. He's knocked out right now."
Yeah.
Because Cecil's like, "Well, we lost touch with you. What happened?" So I don't know, man. This is just. I feel like this
See,
show.
that's another
Let,
thing Cecil didn't understand. He didn't
yeah,
say, "Hey, you went into like the negative zone and we lost contact. What'd you do in there?" He said, "We lost contact." He didn't know what happened.
yeah. And I feel like what this show, especially season 2, for me, again, I'm going to preface this: neither of us have read the comics. So if you guys are watching this and you're listening to us rabble on, we're learning as we go.
Oh yeah.
But from what I'm like, just like this world is way bigger than season 1 ever showed. There is just so much going on and happening, and that's what I think's got me so captivated. There's so many storylines to follow. Like we're following obviously Invincible and Mark and him trying to deal with his grief of his father, all those things going on. We're seeing his mom have some things that we're following there as well, where she's going to be a big role, I think, in the story moving forward. We're seeing the Guardians of the Globe kind of doing their own thing and learning all these things, and then they just throw random stuff at us, right? So
Yeah.
it's just like the world has opened up so much for me, and it has just got my mind thinking the entire time I'm watching these episodes. I'm like, what is going on? Where is this? What's this leading to? And it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think Mark's mom is going to keep that emotion from the first season that you got and keep us grounded. Like you said, this world is ever expanding, and in episode 3 we got to see the expanded universe that we're going to actually see the real storyline that we're about to see take place. And so I think Mark's mom, I think she's going to keep the grounded, keep the emotion, and have all of that tie back in. Even the little subtle things like her taking down plates to get ready for dinner. Mark grabbed 3 plates. Him, his dad, and his mom. He was
Hmm.
always used to that, like that, like little tiny detail, and then like her breaking when she's closing the kitchen
The
door.
cabinet,
Right, the
yeah,
the cabinet, man. Like just like every time she's in a scene, she is just stealing the emotion. Like it's just like, man, Debbie, she is really killing it. And then in episode 3, we really just have only started to even touch on episode 2, but in episode 3, with the support group, where she gets to see all of the other superheroes that have lost significant others, and then just the overwhelming emotion that she gets to feel there. She is always showing the emotion, keeping it level with us and keeping us grounded. And I love that. I love her character.
yeah. Her character's really good, and like she's also dealing with the fact that her husband is who killed most of these other superheroes that are in this support group. You see her go to the bar afterwards with the one guy, and he talks about how his wife was the Green Ghost, and he starts hinting at he hates Omni-Man because he's who killed his wife. And Debbie's like, I got to get up, I'm gonna go. And then she finally breaks and tells him, my husband's Omni-Man. And then she says, and I haven't even had the chance to really grieve over it and get over it because he's still alive, he's
Yep.
still out there, and I don't even know where he's at. So if you put yourself in her shoes, there's a lot to be upset about, a lot to be angry about, and it's crazy how well they portray that through a cartoon.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's wonderful. Like her entire world is shattered, completely broken. understanding that the person she loved the most in this world thought she was a dog. And they really kind of, I think they did. I was talking to my friend Guy about this, and he was talking about when she's selling the house, right? She's selling the house, and she gets to make that comment, "She's not your pet," like to the couple that like clearly that guy is like being the worst, and anyone looking at that relationship would have been like, "Man, he is a jerk," right? But like they're
Yeah.
really overselling it so that you can see what she's thinking, and so like I do wish that they would let her in that moment. Like, I wish it wasn't so on the nose that he was just the worst. Like, I wish it was like that she was seeing the bad in him when he's not just being the worst. Kind of like, um, oh, what is it? Just lost her name. Uh, Adam Eve, right? Kind of like Adam Eve. Like, her father is just portrayed as the absolute worst person with no redeeming qualities
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like, he is the worst. And like I do like it is nice that in episode 2 like there was a reason that like he wasn't allowed to like just repair things. Like he did have a point. Like there are codes for a reason. There are red tape for a reason. Even though like in our world we do hate red tape, but like it is there for a reason. But like even in that fact, he is still just the worst person. And so like I wish in some of that like they took the extreme away and just gave us um not so polarizing and just give some redeeming qualities to those villains. They're not even villains, just the antagonist in that moment. So that it's not just completely on the nose. Like, man, this these people are the worst.
Well, and I feel like I agree because you want to almost you're waiting for them to say something that you're like, oh, I can kind of see the point there. But I almost feel like that's kind of what they're going for in a sense. Is like some of these people are just bad. They're just not good people. Um, and you kind of
Right.
can understand with Adam Eve's dad. You're kind of getting a little bit of an idea. He just feels underappreciated. He feels like he's been providing his whole life for his family. Now he can't, so now he feels like they just don't care, and they're like, "Oh, we don't need you really." And I feel like that's kind of his like sense of, oh, he feels like he's not needed anymore because his daughter does have really an insanely powerful, power that she can just bend atoms to her will and make whatever she wants. And it
Did you
almost
watch
takes
the?
like that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It just almost takes that away, like he's not appreciated. I'm assuming you're going to ask if I watched the Adam Eve special. I have not watched that yet.
Okay. Yeah.
That is still on my list. I actually hadn't been able to watch the episode 3 until today, so I just caught up today before this podcast a little bit ago.
Okay.
But
Yeah. So we see also speaking of Debbie, she's also dealing with all these things, but she also gets to see Donald. What is going on with
yes,
Donald?
I don't know, dude. When I saw him, I was like, hold on, like he should be dead, and like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Um,
We
and
saw
it's
Omni-Man rip his spine from his body, and then the house blew up into a million pieces, incinerating him. And
yeah,
now
and
he
Omni
is
Man's
just
the
walking
only one
around like
left there.
he doesn't remember. So clearly, like this was like, do you think it's like a clone? Like he got like the brothers. What are the
The
brothers' names?
Mauler.
Yeah, the Mahler twins. Do you think he got the Mahler twins to kind of like get a clone of him with a memory bank like backup that he had? What's your theory? I want to hear a theory on Donald.
So the only theories I have is that was one of them. I was like, maybe Cecil's figured out, and maybe he hasn't even had the Muller twins do it. Maybe Rudy has, figured it out. He was part of the cloning process. Very, very smart, obviously. Maybe that's something we're going to see in the future is Donald is working with him to, make clones of certain people that he needs and relies on. Um, we also, another theory, you could kind of maybe go with it and see what happens, but the reason I don't think this theory works is because his body was gone. But you could almost, if you remember from episode or season 1, the guy who takes the human bodies and mutates them and, gives them metal arms and all that stuff, maybe he's worked on some stuff, but the only reason I don't think that theory works is because his body was gone. There's no body to build off of.
Yeah, he should have been
Um,
completely incinerated.
yeah. So really the only thing I can think of is a cloning process. I do have a theory, and this could be completely crazy. I'm not convinced necessarily that episode was even the world we're familiar with. There's parts of me that
Oh,
thinks, obviously they introduced this multiverse. I could see this being a completely different universe, because you kind of see at the end where Angstrom Levy goes to Mark. This Mark has been captured in this universe, and he's like, "Oh, how did they capture you? What
well,
did
that
they
was a
do?"
different universe.
That was a different universe. So that's what I'm saying is I don't know that this episode that we saw necessarily was. Do I think it was? Ultimately, yes, but that was one theory. When I saw Donald, instantly I thought, is this a different universe than what we
Okay,
are, like our normal universe?
I don't think that's at all. And one of the reasons is because they even said like this is like one of the only universes that Mark wasn't evil in,
Hmm.
like that he didn't go to his dad with. So like I don't think this. But speaking of Mark, man, we're with the defeated Mark getting tied up and learning that quantum bombs killed Omni Man and getting all that information. What is going to happen with that? Because
I
we really
think
didn't see him in episode 3 at
no,
all.
we didn't, and I think it's crazy, dude. This show has just got so many things. Like this is what I'm talking about. We have so much little things. We're taking one clip, and you can run with this clip in a million different ways. But I really think that I was shocked that we didn't see more Angstrom Levy in the next two episodes, episode 2 and 3. We only saw that. That was it we saw of him. Was
Right.
that little tiny clip. Obviously, it seems like he is going to every reality that he can think of, that he can find. Obviously, he can access them all. And he's trying to see where Omni-Man and Invincible were defeated. It seems like in this universe, that's where they were defeated in this one. It seems like he is really just trying to become as smart as humanly possible to destroy them. Um, I'm not convinced that some of these things he's finding out are going to work on all of them, or I think there's going to be a lot of trial and error. Um, but yeah, dude, the Angstrom Levy whole arc, I feel like has a lot of touching to do because that is probably the craziest arc going on in the whole story right now.
I uh, I don't know with the last scene of episode 3.
So
I think that's way crazier.
that is a crazy arc, and there's one arc, one theory I have. Speaking of that, we see Mark finally confront what we think is Omni Man on this other world of, I believe, what was the world called? It
Oh man, who knows?
was it Thraxon? Was that what it was
Thraxon
called? I think it might
potentially.
have been something
Yeah,
like that.
Thraxon sounds right. I'm gonna
I
say
think that might.
Thraxon's right.
I think that was what they called it. There's two theories I'm running with on that one for the main part. In that episode, we have a lot to talk about episode 3 because that one played a lot with emotions for me.
I
Because
would
one of
say
my
that's
favorite.
better. I would say
What
episode
is?
3. I'd say episode 3 was significantly better than episode 2.
I agree. I thought
Significantly.
yes, and episode 2 was good, but
I give
episode
it
2
an
was one
8.
of those. Yeah, I would agree. I think episode 2 was just one of those where you're finding out just more about. It's just dealing with more grief. Especially episode 2, you see a lot of Mark saying, "I'm not my dad," and he goes and helps back the fish people. He's like, I'm going to go fix kind of what I started, what I caused by letting this beast go. I mean, he puts that blame on him, and
Yeah,
Cecil's like, "No, don't do it."
he's becoming a worse person though. Like
He is,
not
and
caring
you can.
about his family as much, and like he's losing the things that make him a good person. Like yes, anyone can save lives, but like it's that caring and emotion, like putting the first things first is what makes really good people good people. Like if you start neglecting your family to help other people, then you're not a good person. Like your family is more important.
Well, see, I think we're seeing him lose that, like, he is starting to be a little more selfish in a way. And what I think this is doing is this is the arc, we keep talking about it. We're waiting for him to have his moment, his invincible moment where he just finally destroys somebody that he should destroy. Every fight still, it seems like a struggle. He is struggling with every single fight. And I think this arc we're going through with Mark is kind of showing that he's going to tap into this evil side of himself that he is battling. He doesn't want to be his dad. His dad is evil in his mind. But he's going to start, tapping into that a little bit. See it in Star Wars, you tap into the dark side. It's a shortcut to power. Mark is kind of doing that in a sense of tapping into his anger. And we see in episode, I believe it's episode 2, when he taps into that anger a little bit, he gets a lot stronger.
He does.
So I think that is the arc we're learning with Mark right now is, can he learn how to control that anger in a way that makes it helpful to others by making him stronger?
Okay. All right. So backing up to episode 3, let's talk about you touched on favorite character potentially, Alan the alien. Is
Oh,
that right?
dude. Yeah, man. My guy Alan, dude. Like, they can't give us this whole story about him. It's like, what, 10 minutes of a story? And I'm like,
20
I love this dude.
20 minutes. 20 minutes of the
Yeah.
episode was Alan.
And, dude, it's just such a cool, you feel bad for his species, right?
Of
They've been
course.
invaded by the Viltrumites, they've been conquered, but they just have this undying will to be conquered. So, they bring it up multiple times in the episodes. I forget what his species is called. It's like, oh, what is it? I'll
Flurkins.
think of it in a second because I
Nah, I'm
remember
just
I
kidding.
kept saying it in my head over and over again. Um, but we see like their undying, their just will to live, and we just go on this story about how they've just barely made it by. They finally get to be a part of this council, and
Utopians.
yeah, and then you see that Alan was, you know, made essentially to kill Viltrumites.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool. Alan's really. I thought Alan was more of a goofy character when we saw him in season 1. He just kind of seemed like that kind of comedic relief character. But it turns out he's a pretty smart dude, it seems like. He just likes to have fun, too, which is a really cool type of
And super
character to
powerful.
have. Yes, because, they know how to. They don't take everything too seriously, but they know when to. Um, oh,
Well, he's
dude.
also voiced by Seth Rogen, which you really just can't take anything he does serious.
Exactly. But he does a great job. I think the voice acting for Alan is really good.
Yeah, he does good. Yeah. Voice acting. Did you pick up on who his girlfriend was voiced by?
Oh, I did not. Who was that voiced by?
Tatiana Maslany,
Oh, really?
She-Hulk. Yeah,
I did not. I didn't pick up on that at all.
yeah. I was listening and I was like, man, I know that voice. I know that voice. It's like, who is that? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
huh.
but man, I love Alan.
Yeah, he was
That's a
good.
really cool character.
I just love that
Man,
storyline. I love that we're gonna get to see. I mean, we're gonna see the Viltrumites on it, and man, dude, watching those three with no mercy handle him, and I mean, Mark used a timeout to like beat Alan. Like he was not going to beat him in season 1. So
well,
like, and they just literally just wiped the floor with him. It was so
yeah.
crazy.
Well, and you heard them say when they made Alan and they sent him to go maybe potentially free their homeland, Alan wasn't even strong enough for one Viltrumite.
Yeah,
And obviously, Mark is not 100% Viltrumite. They kind of keep touching on that, because they talk about, like, we've never seen a Viltrumite abandon post before, and we've also never seen someone survive a Viltrumite attack. They keep saying, well, he's this half and half, he's half human, half Viltrumite. And it's just, it seems like they're just trying to find these little weaknesses that the Viltrumites could have. But it did not seem like those three Viltrumites had any sort of weakness when it came to Alan. And he didn't even fight back. And I don't know if that was him. You saw him look back at his girlfriend and smile. I don't know if that was kind of him saying, there's no chance I survive here, but I'm also not going to tell them what I know because it is our only chance of ever winning against these Viltrumites.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's just crazy. I love Alan. I would love to hear what you think about that episode because there's just so much to touch on.
I don't think he's gone. So I think the Utopians' will to live is stronger, and he was coming back when he was on life support, and I know
Mm-hmm.
that Thaddeus, I think it was
Yeah.
Thaddeus, clearly the mole, clearly working for the Viltrumites too, which is crazy that the head guy of the what is it?
The
The
Galactic
coalition of
Coalition.
planets.
Yeah.
Yeah, coalition of planets. That the head guy is is evil, working for him. So it's insane. But I don't think he's dead. I think he's gonna work his way. I think he's gonna heal. I think he's gonna be fine. I think we're gonna see more Alan. I don't think that's the last of it.
I sure hope not. And I agree. I don't think it is the end of them because they really touched on the Utopians' will to live a lot. And I feel like if they wouldn't touch on that, if he wasn't going to survive this, because it would kind of defeat the whole point of them continually saying that. I really hope we get an Alan and Invincible team up fight. I think that'll be really cool to see. I love their character dynamic between those two. When they're together, they're really fun. Even though we've only seen them a little bit, Um, just really, really cool character, and
Yeah.
that whole scene had my. I was like, there ain't no way they kill him. And like I said, I told you a little bit right before we started the podcast. I was like, this is going to be really sad when Alan dies because they're giving us this great story about him. We're really starting to know more and more about the character. And then no more than 2 minutes later, after I had that thought, he's about dead. So
Oh man, he's in space with his eye hanging out, completely wrecked.
yeah, dude, and it's just
Oh
I'm excited because we're getting to see more of the Viltrumites. As much as you hate them, they're cool, right? Like they're
yeah.
just like these units of people. Um, and yeah, it's super exciting. So we talked a little bit though about Omni-Man seemingly showing up. What do you take from that whole scene at the end of episode 3?
So I know that Newell's it or whatever his name was, who the scout that kind of came to get him.
Yes.
He said that he was Seon's dog to disarm Mark. He's
Yeah.
obviously a shapeshifter. He can take on the form of anything. Clearly, incredibly powerful. I don't think it's Nolan. I think it's a shapeshifter doing the exact same thing. Um, Now, if it is, then episode 4 is going to be insane, which they've already said it's going to be. But I
Mhm.
don't think. I think we're about to see Mark's moment as he, this is really something you don't play with in the emotions of him currently in his state with what he had to go through with his father. I
Yeah.
think we're about to see Mark completely and totally wreck that species because I think that Monarch is imitating Mark's dad, lied to him to get him there, um, and then I think we're about to see a thrashing on
So if
Thraxon.
if that is what you think, what was the whole purpose of even bringing Invincible there?
I think that is just part of either they are working for the Viltrumites
Okay.
or they are working for the Coalition of Planets,
Okay.
and that is somebody who is not on the mole team, but was like, hey, I want to come, like I want to see more of this guy.
It's kind of maybe a test to see if he is as strong as portrayed maybe by Alan, because Alan hyped him up. He said he was able to survive a Viltrumite's attack, which no one's been able to do before. So I could see that. I do like that theory. That was the big theory I had. Is I think it makes the most sense because we saw them acting as the Seance dog, and using that way of kind of convincing him to come with them at first because they thought, oh, he loves the Seance dog. Maybe he'll listen to him a little bit. I think that too. I think that is probably just a shape shifting element. I do, however, think that it could be him. And the only reason I think
Could
that,
be. It could be.
so the only reason I think that is I could see this being one of those things where just the way I've been thinking about stuff, obviously this might sound kind of out there. I could almost see maybe Nolan having gone to another planet somewhere and conquering that planet in a sense to say, hey, I might not have got Earth, but I did get this planet because we know the Viltrumites are all about conquering planets and adding everyone to their way of life.
Right.
Obviously, Nolan
Okay.
is like the king here. It seemed like so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is him. I don't think so. I think it's definitely the shape shifting. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, what if maybe he, they keep talking about we've never seen a Viltrumite abandoned ship. What's going to happen to him if he does?
Yeah.
Maybe it is bad for them to do that. I mean,
Oh, it's definitely bad.
we see the 3 Viltrumites come to kill Alan because they want to know where he's at. So
Yeah.
obviously they're hunting Nolan.
Right.
So
And Mark.
and Mark. So I could almost see potentially maybe them being like hey, maybe I didn't get Earth, but I did get this planet. Maybe I shouldn't be punished for leaving my job.
I can. That's a really good aspect. I hadn't thought of that. Like trying to be like, hey, like don't kill me. I did get this for you. I'm pretty much 60-40. It's 60%. I think it's shapeshifter. 40%. I think it's Nolan, and that's just because I don't know the story. Like I
Yeah.
have no clue where the story's going. So, um, but I know that Robert Kirkman has something amazing for us in store, and I'm so excited for episode 4. But I will say, there's one thing that really annoys me, and that's the fact that Shapeshifter like no one's realized he's an idiot. Like he's not human. Like how has Cecil let him on the Guardians of the Globe? How does the people at NASA not know he's not an actual astronaut? Like one of the smartest people, like willing to go to Mars. Like how has no one picked up this? Like he's literally not even turning the treadmill on. He's
Yeah,
running backwards. Like
yeah, and he's not running. He's just like knee-highing in place. Like, so I don't know. I'm not convinced Cecil even knows he's there at the facility. I'm sure he does, but it kind of just seemed like they were like, "Hey, come back with us, man."
yeah.
So I don't know. And we talked about it, and I talked about it at the beginning. I think that there's going to be a new Guardians of the Globe, and not even I think the ones that we have now will ultimately be the Guardians of the Globe, but I think their
Okay.
test is going to be fighting these people that are coming back and almost emerging as the previous Guardians of the Globe. Because
Okay.
we've seen Immortal come back, we've seen another Martian Man, um, we've seen the Darkwing sidekick.
In. Yeah. Who's
Yes,
stronger than Darkwing? It looks like
it
with this.
appears as though. I think that is going to be, we keep seeing Cecil, oh, well, if they can't handle Lizard League, for example, just a simple, little villain group, they're not ready to take on a big one. I think this is going to be their big one, and it's going to be fighting these previous members of the Guardians of the Globe. That's the theory
Okay.
I'm going with in that sense. Because I think that's the only thing that makes sense. I also think that when these new Guardians of the Globe come about, these new members that we're seeing, the previous members, it's hard to explain that in words. I think Immortal is going to side with them. I think
Okay.
Immortal is going to turn on the current Guardians of the Globe that he is leading, and the current Guardians are going to have to fight him also.
Yeah. I. That's an interesting theory. I hadn't even thought of that even a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um. But I mean, that's definitely potential. I think they're just going to continue to build them up, and we're gonna see them just take on less and less as far as like um power level, just kind of gradually grow that team to better
Mm-hmm.
and better and better, to where they do have the ability to fight some of those larger levels. But I guess we'll see. That's really one of the storylines I don't care that much about.
Well, and it's funny too because it's a storyline that it seems important to the story. It seems as though they keep talking about it, but it almost seems like it is completely a different storyline than what the main story is about.
Well,
It
yeah,
doesn't
like
it doesn't seem to have any connections to Mark, doesn't seem to have any connections to Omni-Man besides the fact that he killed the previous ones. It just seems like its own story, which is what I think is interesting about the show, is that you have so many different storylines going on that all seem self-contained.
yeah. So here's how I currently care about like the story. It's Mark and everything to do with Mark.
Hmm.
Then the coalition of planets with the Viltrumite takeover. Then Angstrom Levy. Then Adam Eve. Then Mark's mom. And then like way down on the list,
Yeah,
the new Guardians of the Globe.
yeah, they don't seem important.
I just don't think they are.
I mean, it could. There's something about. I feel like it's gotta come full circle. I feel like they have to eventually somehow weave back into the story, the main story of Mark somehow. I just don't know how because it seems so self-contained. It seems like it is literally completely different from everything else that we have going on. But there's just so much. I just
There's
this is
so
what I'm
much going
talking.
on.
There is so much happening, and anytime you introduce something like multiverse or anything like that, it does make for a lot of content. But man, it seems like this show has a lot going on right now.
And I love it. I love it. I think it's
Yeah,
really good.
it's just man, dude, I just can't wait for this next episode. I don't know. I know you mentioned it. Um, Apparently, episode 4 and episode 8 are bigger than anything that ever happened in season 1. That is from Robert Kirkman, obviously the creator of the show, the writer of the comics. What do you think of that? Do you really think that we're going to have some insane episodes? Or do you think that's just, a writer excited for what's coming, but maybe not to that level?
I completely believe it's coming. I literally just rewatched we're rewatching the entire season because Chelsea had never seen it, my wife. Um and so I just finished episode 8 and I'm like, man, that is a 10 out of 10 episode. And
Yeah.
I believe they can top it. I believe as long as they focus on the right things, they really capitalize on this Mark story, and everything they planted. Like there has been no drop off. I just talked about like I really don't care about the Guardians, but like everything else, I'm so much more invested in like than even episode 1 or season 1. Like so if they just tell the right story, oh, I think it has full potential to be the best episode of the show.
Now I'm not. I believe this is supposed to be an 8 episode season as well. I think is that correct? Do you know?
Yeah, that it's 8 episodes.
Okay, so I guess that's maybe their thing. They're going to do 8 episodes every season. Um, I
And
think
a season
think
every year is what they said.
yes, Robert Kirkman which is awesome, right? Like
Yeah,
that is
big
really
time.
great. And it makes sense because it is a lot easier to make animated content. So I'm very thrilled that we're getting a season every year because I don't want to wait on this show. This
Nah.
is one of the few shows we talked about it. We've laughed about it. I don't like binge watching. I wish I had this whole season because
I want to
this
just
is one
watch
of
it.
the this is one of the few shows that I don't want to keep waiting. Because we have so many. We've talked about it over and over again. There's so many storylines going on. I just want to know what happens. Like there's been so many parts of me that's like I'm about to just pick up the comics and start reading because I just want to know what's happening. Like
Spoiler
I'm
alert.
dying to know. And I'm not like that with shows. Usually I'm like, all right, 1 episode a week. It gives me time to watch it. It gives me time to think about it. The more I think about this show, I almost feel like I get more confused in a good way because I don't think I'm confused as like, oh, this show is just too much. I'm just like, oh, what about this? But this happened and then this happened and it's just so much happening and I want to know why.
Man. But man, so far, what do you rate the season 2? Better or worse than season 1 so far?
I think it's
Through
better.
3
And
episodes.
I think it's going to be better. And the big reason I think it's going to be better is the show does a really great job of character building, and season 1 was a lot of that. So I do think season 2 has been a lot more of like, let's just get going. We're already in the thick of a story, I feel like, especially with the ending of episode 3, seeing Omni-Man. Anytime we see him, we know the story is about to pick up, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I'm at with this one. I mean, we kind of see that in season 1 when Omni-Man was knocked out, essentially, when he had wore himself out after killing all the Guardians. The show was very slow until he got back up on his feet and started moving again.
Yeah.
You bring a character like that back, obviously things are about to start happening.
Yeah.
I do another theory I think I've been excited to think about is, we talked about Nolan's either just being shapeshifted right now. I mentioned that maybe he went and conquered another planet as like, hey, I didn't do terrible. I did get a planet for the Viltrumites. I also do think potentially, and something I'm hoping we see, is if Omni-Man is trying to redeem himself for what he did on Earth, I hope we get to see him and Mark fight a couple of Viltrumites together. I think that would be an awesome scene, and I think it's coming if one of those theories is true about that actually being Nolan. Because we know the Viltrumites are looking for him, and they're going to run into each other at some point.
That's the only way either of them survive is if it's together.
Yes, because Mark obviously, and I don't think Mark could even take a one-on-one fight against a Viltrumite right now.
No, absolutely not. We saw what happened with his dad.
Yeah, if it is a 2-on-2, it's going to be a lot of Mark taking punches while his dad finishes the rest of the fight, right? So,
yes, correct.
But I'm excited for something like that because I still, even though he's a piece of trash a lot of the time, Omni-Man is so cool, dude. You can't not like him because he's just got that wow factor when he's on the screen. I mean, his voice, obviously, he's voiced by an iconic voice actor. But
Simmons.
Yeah, I love him. I still like him even though he's done so much wrong. I'm like, every time he's on the screen, I'm like, yes, give me more Omni-Man.
Which is exactly what you want from a character, but
yeah.
All right. So, moving away from Invincible, that is our only show recap at all that we have this week. However, we did have a ton of news drop this week and a few trailers. So I just want to touch on those quickly. Don't really want to like get into deep dives with them as man, we could do that for hours, but what just we'll go through these pretty quick. Madam Web, win
Mhm.
or a W or an L trailer?
Huge W for me. I didn't care about the movie really at all until I saw the trailer. The trailer did captivate me a little bit. I'm excited for the story they're telling. Always skeptical with Sony. You never really know what they're going to do. But you got to admit, they've made some good movies in the Marvel universe with The Amazing Spider Man. I love those Spider Man movies. I think they're really good. A lot of people like the Venom movies. I actually haven't watched those. They're on my watch list. But I think this is a win. I think it did a lot of what they wanted a trailer to do. You want people to get excited for something. From what I was reading in comments of the trailer and stuff, it seemed overwhelmingly positive. Obviously, there's a few of those comments that are like, "I don't care about this," but I think it was a win for me personally.
Okay. I think it was a semi win for me. It didn't really thrill me. It did intrigue me. It made me more interested in the story, which is always good for a trailer to do. But the thing I was really excited for is Adam Scott as Ben
Yeah,
Parker. I love Adam Scott. Parks and Rec is one of my favorite shows of all time. I love that show, and to see him in the Sonyverse, that's pretty cool. And then, I have no clue about any of these characters except for Spider Woman, and I don't really even know the version we're getting. Clearly, we're getting three of the Spider Women immediately, and then Madam Web, an evil Spider Man. So, I'm clearly gonna go watch it. But it wasn't like the Echo trailer for me. Like that was
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I gotta watch this right now. I'm so excited for this. It was more like, okay, you have my attention, but it not my full interest.
I mean, I get that, and like I said, it was a huge, huge win for me just because it was able to get me excited for the movie in a way. Before, I could not have cared less about this. I thought it was going to be really. I feel like we've been hearing about Madam Web for a really long time now. I feel like we just keep hearing little. Oh, they're filming Madam Web. You'll see like a shot of a film location or something. But I feel like it's finally getting there. It did look interesting. Like you said, I don't know anything about any of these characters. Um, so I'm excited to learn potentially some about them, which is probably the most exciting thing for me. But yeah, like I said, it was a win in that it got my attention.
Okay. All right. So what if trailer dropped as well? Same day. Um, for we'll do the same for that. W or an L? What if trailer?
So I liked it. I have not watched What If season one, but I did watch this trailer for season two. My favorite thing about it is I love how they're releasing the episodes. Um, that's going to be really fun, and that's something we're excited, especially from a podcast standpoint, because we're going to be able to break down just about the whole show whenever whenever that time comes. So I thought it was a win. I know a lot of people really like the What If series. I know you are one of those people that is very excited for season
Big
two.
time.
So that is, I thought it was a win. Again, I will have to catch up with season one. But yeah, I think I just love animated content. I think it's really grown for me. I used to not be as much of an animated fan, but it's kind of funny as I've gotten older. I almost prefer animated in a sense, just because of what they're able to do with it. Um, but yeah, I thought it was a win. I think the biggest win for me though is I think it's really cool how they're releasing it.
Yeah. The nine days, 9 episodes. That's super exciting for me. Huge W for me. I loved What If. I think it's hugely underrated. It was one of my top five Disney Plus projects. And I really enjoyed every week as they dropped. I think they had amazing content. I thought every episode was pretty good paced. It told a complete story. It was just a fun watch every week. And then the culmination with an actual event. And I think we're going to get more of that this season. So I'm excited for What If. I think it was a huge W. But yeah, you got to watch season one, man. It's so
I
good.
know.
It's so good. Um, maybe we'll make you watch that before it drops, so we can do like a little recap.
Oh,
episode and just choose our favorite episodes.
I will definitely be watching it before season 2 drops. I have to do that because I'm excited for it. And one thing I will say, one of my favorite things about the podcast has been is it has given me so much more motivation to catch up on stuff just so we can talk about it. Because I love sitting down and talking about these things. Um, so that's probably the only reason I was able. Not only is Invincible such an awesome show, but I definitely wouldn't probably have been as motivated to binge it like I did.
Oh yeah.
But I'll have to catch up on season 1 for sure. So that won't even be something you have to convince me to do. It'll be done. So
Okay, great. Um, all right. So next piece was what we had a Fantastic Four casting
oh gosh.
semi confirmation for the 70th time. Um, this just keeps on rolling out with the Fantastic Four. This is like the seventh seventh casting that we've heard. But let's just run through the ones that we know. The big drop this week was that Pedro Pascal is apparently being offered the role of Mr. Fantastic. Win or loss?
All right, so this is a tough one for me because I love Pedro Pascal. I think he's such a good actor. But there are so many other people I wanted for this role. There are so many other options they could have gone. And it hurts me to say this. I'm going to say it's an L because, again, I think he's such a good actor. I think he has a place. I think he could be in the MCU. I really do. I just don't think this is it. We've heard so many theories and rumors of who was going to be casted. We've had confirmation so many times now. I'm still not convinced it's Pedro Pascal. No matter how many people are really saying it, I feel like this is probably the most convinced I've been, though. But man, some of the other people we've heard of, I personally really wanted John Krasinski. I loved him in the Doctor Strange movie. I think he looked the part really, really well. Another one that I really liked was Adam Driver. I was really hoping if we weren't getting John Krasinski, it would be him because I think he would be a really great Reed Richards. This one just kind of seemed out of left field for me, so I have to say it's an L.
Okay, yeah, I'm on the complete agreement. I had a conversation with my coworker about this. I was like, man's 48. He looks 60. He's a wonderful actor, but he's already in. He's shown to be like hard to work with Mandalorian. It just doesn't seem. He doesn't look it to me. He doesn't look the part. He doesn't
No.
seem the part. He doesn't act the part. There's just, and like you said, there is so many other actors that like could do it. So I am completely in agreement that this is a major L. Have you ever watched Criminal Minds?
I have not.
Well, for those of you listening that have, like, I think Matthew Gray Gubler, Dr. Spencer Reed from that show would actually be a wonderful Mr. Fantastic. Like Reed Richards, like he's super intelligent looking. He plays at that part super well. He's kind of lanky in and of itself. So I think that's one of my top fan casting picks for this. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Pedro Pascal. I think he's gonna do fine if he gets the role. I think that his performance won't distract me from it. I won't be like thinking, man, that's not Reed Richards the whole time on the screen. But I do think this is not necessarily the casting I was looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I like I said, great actor. I think I feel the same way when I'm watching the movie. I don't think it'll bother me. I just was hoping for something new, and I was honestly, if they're not even going to give it to a big name, give it to someone new, right? Give
Yeah,
us a new actor that can, show their self of what they're capable of doing. I feel like Marvel and Star Wars do that a lot. You don't usually see big other name actors in these movies, and if you do, usually this is what makes them a big actor. Because usually they don't want that distraction. You don't want to be thinking, "Oh, that guy's just from this." You want that character to be authentic and new. So I wish, if anything, they would have given it to someone else. But
yeah, that
like
was
I said,
my complaint with Adam Driver. I was like, I don't want to be everyone thinking like, hey, look, it's Kylo Ren.
exactly, yeah. And if you pick John Krasinski, oh, it's Jim from The Office. But yeah, I was hoping if anything we'd get someone new, or maybe that someone that does have an acting experience, but just not from something as big as this. But I digress. I think it'll be okay. I'm still not convinced until we finally get the official drop of all 4 of them. But we'll see what happens.
From the the history with this casting call. I'm not saying anything until Marvel drops the announcement. You know, whether it's
Yeah, it's been
RPK or not, it just we'll see when it drops.
yeah, this has just seemed like it's just been dragging on. I just want to get
Yeah,
on with it, and let's just we don't need to we shouldn't be theorizing about who's going to be in the movie acting. We should be theorizing about what the story could be, but I feel like it's
that's
just
right.
really been a big distraction.
It has been. Okay, but now something that's actually confirmed that we can theorize about is our friend Robert Kirkman dropped a little nugget with that Sentry um, is actually going to be in the Thunderbolts because his good friend Stephen Yu is playing Sentry, and that is now confirmed for the Thunderbolts. What's your take?
I love it, dude. I love. I think I mentioned it. Might have mentioned a little while back, or maybe we talked about it in just me and you talking. I love that Robert Kirkman and him have such a good relationship. Obviously, Steven was in The Walking Dead. He played Glenn. Robert Kirkman wrote The Walking Dead. He wrote Invincible. He has him as his main voice actor. I love it. That little relationship, and it's kind of cool that we got confirmation from a source like that because I'm a big Robert Kirkman fan. He might be my favorite comic writer of all time. Because two of his biggest things are The Walking Dead and Invincible, and those are two of my favorite things that I've watched and read. So I love that. I think he is going to do a really good job in that role. I think he's a great actor, and I think that was a big win.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love bringing Sentry in. I mean, we are talking about, and for those of you who don't know, Sentry is essentially stronger than Superman, um, comic character.
Hmm.
Marvel created them to kind of spit in the face of Superman. Said, "Hey, you have this character, but we can do it better." Um, and so I know there would riots in the street if this take got taken out that was true. But super interesting character. Not a lot is known about him. Most
Hmm.
people wouldn't even say they know who it is, but I am really excited. And especially for the Thunderbolts to take him on, like street level heroes to take on the most powerful comic like Marvel character. Well, one of the most powerful
Yeah,
Marvel characters. But I mean, our power set in Marvel is going crazy, dude. With Emily Clark's character, and then we got Captain Marvel, Thor's at an all-time high. We got Loki, the God of Stories. Now we're bringing in Sentry. We got Adam Warlock. Like, man, we're gonna have to see some major threats for them to have some challenges.
yeah. They are we. It is getting crazy, and it's setting up an insane battle in something like a Secret Wars
Oh
moving
yeah,
forward. So
it's gonna be awesome.
really, yeah, it's really cool. I love this cast. I don't know if you saw the quote, but Robert Kirkman said Steven called me and he was like, "Yeah, I had to go for this costume thing. I'm playing Sentry in the Marvel," and he's like, "I can't seem to get away from wearing a blue and yellow suit."
Yeah,
Which is like the Invincible colors, and that's what colors Sentry wears. I think that was funny, but I
yeah,
think
that's
that's a
really
W
cool.
for me.
Yeah, total W for me. I love it. Couldn't be happier for that character. Stephen Yeun is awesome. I love him and everything he has. One of the most heartbreaking moments of Walking Dead is when he took the bat to the head. Um,
Yeah.
so man, love that character. Love I think the actor's great. So huge win for me. And another huge win that I didn't even know was continuing was that we were going to get a Creed 4. Now it's confirmed, and it's going to be directed by Michael B. Jordan again.
Yeah, I saw that. Did that get announced today? The day we're
It
filming
did.
this? Yeah, so awesome. Those movies are great, dude. I love them. I just think they're cool. Yeah, that's a big win. I do hope we don't get too many of them. I think this is one of those things that you can kind of just overdo. But I think four is probably where I would stop personally. I'm still very excited for it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be good to see. I think those
Hey,
are great movies.
Rocky 4 is the best Rocky movie. I'm saying it. That's a fact. It's undeniable. And they're kind of completely going on the exact same track
Yeah,
as Rocky the one series. Creed the first one was incredible, amazing, best one so far. Creed 2 was very close to Creed 1, but not quite as good. Then Creed 3, quite a step down, but still really still really fun, still really enjoyable. Now they're just, they're poised for Creed 4 to be the best one.
I hope so. I really do, but I hope we don't get as many Creed movies as we got Rocky movies, because, man, there's a lot of them.
Ah, man, but the Rocky movies, man, what a great
they're all
franchise.
iconic. They're all iconic. But
do you agree with
man,
the fact that Creed, that Rocky 4 is the best Rocky?
oh man, I'm trying to think. So one was Apollo Creed.
2 was Apollo Creed.
2 was Apollo Creed.
The rematch. Then 3 was Mr. T.
Yep.
Then number 4 was Ivan Drago.
Yep.
In Russia. Then 5 was Tommy Guns.
Yes.
And then we had Rocky Balboa.
Mm.
So
excuse
then
me.
Creed.
I think honestly I love 5. I like Tommy Gunn. I just hate how that movie ended. I'm not saying it's my favorite. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. Listen, hear me out.
The worst one.
It's not my favorite. I like that movie though, from a sense of where Rocky is coming from. I just hate the ending fight. I hate the whole street fight thing. I think that's lame.
Okay.
I would probably I don't know, dude. Well, see, I love Apollo Creed, and he dies in the 4th one.
That's why it's so good.
And we don't get to see him though.
It's so heartbreaking.
I don't know. I might like 3. I love Mr.
with
T's
Mr.
character.
T. I pity the fool.
Yeah, I like Apollo Creed too much. I love how he's showing Rocky how to flow and move like a butterfly and all that stuff. So I might go with 3, but 4 is really good.
Okay. All right. But oh man, that's crazy. I can't even believe you brought up. I'm still stuck on that you even brought up 5 and like the discussion for like.
Hey, it's not bad. It's got its place. It's got its place. I just hate how it ended. I just hate how it ended.
I can agree with that for sure.
Well, it sounds like you hated the whole thing, so.
Dude, it's got a 5.3 on IMDb.
Oh, stuff gets rated poor. I mean, I'm sure some Fast and Furious movies have some low ratings. We
and
both
rightfully
know
so, baby.
That way.
And rightfully so, baby.
Listen, okay. I'll be the first to say it. I'll take the hot take. Fast and Furious is a better franchise than Rocky Balboa.
Oh man. That may be one of the hottest takes I've heard you say.
Listen,
that is horrible.
I'm dying on that hill. If anyone disagrees, Dane puts in our description of every video how you can reach us. I'm prepared to battle on this hill. So,
dude, I've tried to battle for you. For every sane member that's listening, we all know Rocky is better. Jacob is just a little delusional and maybe a little stubborn on this one. That he's really just defending Fast and the Furious to the death. With all of its missteps. But anyway, all right, moving off of that, another huge big win for cinemas is that we are getting Dune Part 2 2 weeks earlier than we were supposed to. It got moved up to March 1st. Is Dune 2 something you're looking forward to?
Not personally. I've not ever been a big fan of that franchise. I've watched the first one. It's great. I'm just not it's just not one of those things I'm dying to see.
Okay.
Will I see it? Probably.
You will. You'll have to. Podcast.
Yeah, right. We're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to start figuring out some stuff here. But I do like it. It's just not one of them things that I'm not dying to see. So I'm sure you're gonna say you're dying to see it. But for me, if I didn't see it, it's not going to hurt me.
So this is the beauty of the podcast. See, if we would have already been doing the podcast when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, then I would have had to go watch it.
Yeah, but see, you probably would say if you went and watched it, because you still haven't seen it, right?
No, I actually looked up to rent it yesterday, but then didn't because I didn't have time. But
yeah, so. You would probably be like, it's okay. But man, I loved it. So we're going to have some more of these back and forths, but I'm assuming you're very excited for Dune.
Oh, I loved Dune. I thought it was awesome. I really wish I would have seen it in theater. I didn't watch it. I watched it on HBO Max. So, I really am looking forward to Part 2, and I got some friends down here that absolutely love Dune and are really looking forward to watching it. So I am excited to go see that one, especially since the first one was slow. I will be the first to admit that. It was beautiful. I thought it was awesome. Thought it was great world building, fantastic acting. Timothy Chalamet is like, I probably just butchered his last name, but he's great. Um, I think he's the better of the actors between him and Tom Holland with like those rising stars. But yeah, I love Dune, and I'm really excited for part two.
And maybe that's why I didn't like the. It is slow. It is slow
It
to
is
get
slow.
going. Maybe I need to go back. It's been a while. I haven't watched it since. Man, when did the first one come out?
Last year.
Was it only last year?
Yeah,
I
last
feel like it
April.
was. I thought it was like 2 years ago now, but maybe I'll rewatch it. Maybe I'll have a different. But it's not. Again, it's
I
not
mean,
one of those things I'm dying to see.
it'll be 2 years in April, so kind of.
Man, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah.
But
Which is kind of
but
crazy turnaround, really. I
it
feel like
was
for a
supposed to
movie of
come
that.
out. It was supposed to come out last week.
Yeah, I feel like a movie of that scale, though, it's a big movie.
It
There's a
is, but
lot.
they already started production before the other one came out. Like
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
they had already greenlit it. They were ready to
Okay.
go.
Okay.
So, but in other cinema news, the Marvels they took a terrible
Ooh.
87% hit on the box office this week, which I really don't have much to say about that. We're not going to be box office covers, but it does lead me into my question for you this week. I do have just two questions for you that I'm excited to hear. What is your first movie that you saw in the cinemas?
Oh man. I might have to. What would be the first movie? There's a couple of movies that come to mind. No, I don't think Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was the first one.
Oh
Man,
man,
dude.
that would have been late.
Yeah, I didn't go a whole lot when I was little. I'm trying to think of what would have been one of the first movies. Dude, I really don't know. I'm trying to think of what it would have been. That's one of the movies that comes to mind. Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa comes to mind. Those are the only two that really I remember watching when I was younger. Like I said, I didn't go to the movies a whole lot as like a kid. So
Yeah,
those
so
definitely would have been.
okay,
Oh,
Cloudy
what was
with a
that
Chance
movie
of
with?
Meatballs.
What was that movie with Adam Sandler about the dreams?
Oh, bedtime stories.
Bedtime Stories. I saw that one in theaters. If that one, whichever one of those three movies came out first, would have been the one that I went and saw. I believe probably is one of my first, and it
Cloudy
might
with a
not be my first, but it's one of those three. I think. I just don't remember if there was a movie before that I would have gone and seen.
Okay, bedtime stories did come out before. It came out in 2008, and Madagascar and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs came out in 2009.
So it probably would have been Bedtime Stories because I'd been about 9 years old then.
And then Madagascar 2, Escape from Africa, or Escape to Africa, came out in 2008 as well. So it was either bedtime stories or Madagascar, I guess.
Yeah, whichever one of those came out first would have been what I
Huh.
saw because I was probably about nine
Interesting.
years old. Yeah, like I said, I didn't go a whole lot when I was little. I
Yeah,
guess I mean that's kind of
I wasn't allowed
nine's.
to.
Yeah, well, nine's not super old for I feel like going to the movies. I feel like that's probably because you don't want to go too young because like if you're like 4 or 5, I feel like they could get like I feel like I would have probably gotten like what's the word? Not necessarily bored, but I would want to get up and move around some or something. So
Yeah,
I
that
don't
would
know.
make. I definitely. My first movie was actually Dinosaur. That the Disney movie.
Uh huh.
That
Oh,
came out in
is it the green
2000.
dinosaur?
No,
Oh.
not that one. It like kind of realistic. They had the little monkeys in it. They had to like
I've
travel
never seen
across
this
the
movie.
desert. Oh man, it came out in 2000. It's a joy. I actually watched it with my daughter not too long ago. But we were on vacation, and because we were like out of town, it was okay. So we like went and watched Dinosaur, and I remember that was like such a cool like memory that like I got to go to the theater finally and watch this movie, and like I loved it so much, and it like really sparked like a love for movies for me. So I was curious if you had like a similar experience where you had like, you know, it was a big impact for your first movie going experience.
I mean, I remember seeing those movies and loving it. But I don't think it really changed much. Um, I feel like I don't know, but I do. I feel like I don't even like I said I don't even remember which one it was because it was one of those two. When did Cars come out? Was Cars after?
Ooh,
It would have had to have been after that, right?
no, I think Cars came out before that, right?
Did Cars come out before that? When did Cars come out?
Loading, loading. 2006, it did.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it would have been that then. Well, in that one, I went to a drive-in movie theater
Oh, so
to
cool.
see that. So
Down
that
at the
would have been
Pipestem
probably the
Drive-In.
first. Yes, that probably would have been the first movie I saw in movie theaters.
And his number two car movie of all time.
Yep, yep. So it
That's
makes sense.
awesome.
It makes sense. It's all adding up.
That's awesome. Okay, and then I have one last question for you. But so we just asked his first movie experience in the cinemas. But what is your best theater experience?
Whew, that's a loaded question. I feel like so I got a couple. Avengers Endgame is obviously peak because just the energy in that movie theater was something I feel like I have never experienced watching a movie.
Okay.
That was just it was a culmination of how many movies and years. It's like 10 years, 20 some movies. That one is probably one of the craziest experiences. I remember seeing my first Star Wars movie in the theater, which would actually have been which movie? Which one would it have been? Would it have been Rogue One? I guess because I never saw the original movies. I didn't see 1, 2, or 3 in theaters. I didn't see obviously 4, 5, and 6. So I guess maybe Rogue One was really cool just because of how much I
Okay.
love Star Wars. And then actually, when my wife, she never had gone to the movie theaters, and we went and saw No Way Home. We went and saw that on opening night.
Oh wow.
And yes, I figured if she's going to go to her first movie, it
That
needs
was
to be
her
a fun
first
one.
movie.
Yes, her first movie was No Way Home.
Step it up,
So
Danielle.
yeah, right. So that was the first one we went to, and it was a really great one because that was another one with a ton of energy in it. She got to experience like people actually yelling in a movie theater,
Oh yeah.
which was really fun because everyone's cheering and screaming and everything. Um, so yeah, probably one of those three moments were probably one of my favorites.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, it is by far Infinity War. Infinity War was
Infinity
the
War.
absolute best theater experience I've ever had. Every time a hero came on, um, Spider-Man on the bus, people were cheering. Captain America catches the spear, people are cheering, and
Yeah.
dude, it was a packed IMAX theater, not an open seat in the house. And honestly, I ordered my pre-ticket sale, my tickets the day it was available, and I'm kind of a theater snob. I really want the center seat. I want to make
Oh,
sure
me
that
too.
I got the
Me
best
too.
best view, best sound. So if you go on opening night, you gotta get your tickets early. And we're sitting down. We were there early because I like to watch all the previews because I'm a weirdo.
Oh, it's part of the
And
experience.
exactly part of the experience. And this guy comes in, it's a pretty big dude, and his girl, and he's like, "You're in our seats," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." So I'm standing up, and I'm like, "Dude, these are my seats. Like, you are not sitting. Like, it's an opening night, Infinity War. Like, you are not sitting here, no matter what. Like, I don't care." And he was like, "These are my seats." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Dude, look at your ticket." And he pulled up his tickets, and I was like, "Dude, that's for next Thursday. Get out of here."
Oh,
Like.
that sucks for him. That's
Oh, dude, I was stressing it. I was like, dude, look, I got my tickets right here. It is this time, and dude, like that interaction right before the theater, like,
so
dude, it
your
was
blood's already pumping.
crazy. Oh yeah, and then like for it to end the way it did, and
Yeah, dude, Infinity War was
the
crazy. I remember
entire
seeing that one in theater.
oh
Ugh,
man, with Thanos' snap and the
yeah,
absolute like, oh, we lost. We never seen that before. We never
no.
seen them lost, them lose in a movie. So yeah, Infinity War was by far my best experience. I was actually let down by my Endgame experience because it wasn't as good as my Infinity War experience, and it was still
See,
a good experience.
I saw both in theaters. I just remember something. The reason I always think of Endgame as such a great experience in the movie theater is there's two moments obviously that stick out in that movie. I'm sure you know what I'm about to say. Cap finally wielding Mjolnir. The the whole theater went crazy in
See,
my
mine
theater when
didn't.
that. Oh, see, mine. I had people standing up. I had people clapping and screaming whenever
Dude,
that
see, I
happened.
I did. I did, but like I was like one of the only people, and I'm like,
Now,
wait,
see,
wait a
my theater
second. I didn't stand up,
was
but I was like,
hyped for that
whoa, let's
moment.
go.
Yeah, and then when he does the Avengers Assemble,
Yeah.
I think there was people crying, there was people screaming. I mean, those two moments. Like, I feel like my Infinity War experience was more like your Endgame. It sounds like my
Okay.
Infinity War was a lot more calm. It seemed like,
Yeah. It's
but
like,
yeah, my Endgame people were freaking out.
see, and I
So
like saw all the videos of people freaking out. I'm like, why couldn't my theater been like that? And I went
yeah,
three
the mine
times.
was
I
like you
watched
see
it
those
three
videos of people.
times.
I'm not convinced mine's not one of those compilations, dude. Because mine, I had
Aw, that's
literal people.
awesome.
There was people jumping. One dude started running back and forth at the front of the theater because he was freaking out. Like it was almost too much, but like it added to the experience.
Yeah, I
So
know some people, and they would have absolutely hated that. They're like,
yeah,
I don't want that. I'll go.
yeah,
I'll go. I'll go at 1 o'clock in the in the middle of the day, so I don't get that junk.
yeah, yeah. See, I live for that. Like it can be too much, but it
Well,
definitely adds to it.
every time I watch Infinity War, I hear my theater in my head.
Right?
It is an experience that lives past the experience. Like every time I watch that movie, I'm teleported back to the AMC movie theater,
Yep.
living that experience of, man, my number one Marvel movie of all time, and I can't not credit some of that to my theater experience.
Yeah, man, those were some fun. That was fun times.
But yeah, so that's all we have this week. I thank y'all for sticking around for us. If you did, um, as Jacob mentioned earlier, I will put how to contact us in the show notes. If there's anything that you want us to rate, to talk about a show that we haven't watched or haven't spoke on, that maybe we have watched or that you would like us to watch and talk about, let us know. Let's hit it up, and we'll be happy to get to that stuff. We have plenty of content to talk about, but we're always make time for our fans. So, Jacob, you got anything for us?
Nope, that's it from me, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us here at the Weekly Fix, and hopefully we'll see you next week.